Hi everyone. In this video we shall see that how we can carry out FIFO valuation using Excel formulas. Now before proceeding, I would highly recommend that you watch this video first. We are directly going to use the results that we derived in this video. So do check out this video first and then continue. I will attach the link of this video in the comment section. You can also check out the video link attached here in this workbook. So I will also attach the link of this workbook in the comment section. Now let's start and let's first see that what do we mean by FIFO valuation, and then we will try to automate the calculations using Excel formulas. So we are given with this data here. So let's say we have particular dates here on which we made some purchases at a particular price, and this is the amount of units that we sold on each of the dates. So let's say we have 27th January. On 27th January we purchased 21 units of a particular good, each at a price of 33 INR per unit, right? So 21 units at a price of 33 each. Then on this particular date, 27 January, we sold 7 units. So out of 21, we sold only 7 units. So the cost of goods sold will become 7, this 7 into this particular price, right? So this will be the cost of goods sold on the first date, that is 27 January. Now we have sold only 7 units out of 21 units. How many are still remaining? So here the calculation is 7 multiplied by 33, right? And how many units are still remaining? So remaining units, how many are remaining units? They are 21 minus 7, which is equal to 14, right? So 14 units still remain. Now, when we move on to the next date, when we made the sales again, so here we can see that on 5th February, we sold 8 units and we purchased 19 units here. Now, we sold 8 units here. So, what we can do, we already had 14 units in the inventory. So, we can utilize those 14 units first and then we will consume all the remaining sales that we made from the purchase that we made on 5th February. So what do we mean by that? So first of all, we will see that can we completely utilize this 14 units to cover up this sales? So the answer is yes, because we still have 14 units remaining and we made the sales of only 8 units. So what we can do, we will register these 8 units at a price of not 82 but at the price of 33, because we are utilizing the previously remaining quantity here. So we will multiply this 8 by 33 here, right? Now from the purchase that we made on 27 January, how many are remaining? They will be 14 minus 8, which is equal to 6, right? And how many are still remaining from the purchase that we made on 5th February? It is the exact amount, because we haven't utilized this 19 is still. So this will be 19 minus 0, because we haven't utilized anything from the purchase we made on 5th February. So it will be 19, right? Now on the next date when we made the sales, right, on 11th February, so we made the sales of 28 units. We made a purchase of 18 units at a price of 34. So now here we will again consume from the purchase we made on 27 January, and then for the remaining quantity we will move on to 5th February, right? So we made a sales of 28 units. So from the purchase that we made on 27 January, we still have 6 units remaining. So we will first of all utilize those 6 units at a price of 33, right? 6 units at a price of 33. So we have completely utilized the inventory that we had on 27 January. Then we will utilize the inventory that we purchased on 5th of February. So we will move on to the 5th of February. We still have 19 units remaining from 5th of February. So we will utilize them. So plus 19 into 82, right? So 19 plus 6 is 25. Now we still have 3 units, right? So now we will move on to 11th of February, and out of this 18 that we purchased on 11th February, we will utilize those units here. So it will be plus 3 multiplied by 34. 34 is the price of units that we purchased on 11th of February. So this will be the calculation here. And remaining units for 27th of January will be 0, because we have utilized them completely. So 6 minus 6 will be 0 here. For 5th of February, right? From 5th of February, we have again completely utilized these 19 units here. So it will again become 0. 19 minus 19 equals to 0. And from the purchase we made on 11th of February, how many units we have remaining? So it will be this 18 minus 3, right? We have utilized 3 units from the purchase we made on 11th of February. 18 minus 3, which is equal to 15. So 15 units are remaining here, right? From 11th, from the inventory on 11th February. Now we will see this last example and then we will move on to the calculations using Excel functions. So if we see for 20th February, we sold 12 units. Now we could cover all these 12 units from the inventory that is still remaining from this date, 11th of February, right? So what will be the cost of goods sold here? It will be 15 multiplied by the price of 11th of February, which is 34. So 15 multiplied by, so it will not be 15, it will be 12 basically. 12 multiplied by 34, right? 12 because we sold 12 units this day. So 12 into 34. And again, here the remaining units will be 0 again for 27th of January. For 5th of February, it will be 0 again. And remaining units from this inventory, the inventory on 11th February will become 15 minus 12, which is equal to 3. Right? So we have 3 units still remaining from the inventory that we had on 11th of February. So this is the calculation that we are trying to do. And we have to see a way such that we could automate this calculation. So now what we will do, we will revisit the workings and the calculations that we did in the video I mentioned earlier. So these are the workings of the previous video. And again, I am saying that do watch this video first and then proceed. Right. So what we did in that video basically that let's say we have a cash balance of 6 million and we wish to distribute this balance cash among the creditors which are ordered as per their seniority of claims. So let's say these are the creditors and this is the respective amount due to each of the creditors. So what we will do, we will distribute this 6 million such that first of all P will receive 2 million completely, then we will have the remaining balance of 4 million. Then Q has an amount due of 3 million. So Q will again out of those 4 million, Q will completely receive that 3 million. Now the remaining balance is 1 million. Amount due of R is 4 million. Now here is the challenge that we have the cash balance of only 1 million, but R has an amount due of 4 million, which is greater than 1 million. So we will pay R partially only, that is the amount of 1 million. Then our balance would reduce to 0 and hence S and T will get nothing. Right, so they will receive 0 million, and this is the distribution that we have done here as well. So P has received 2 million, Q 3 million, R 1 million, S 0 million, and T as well 0 million. And we have automated this using formulas. So this is the formula that we have created, and we saw the logic and all the workings that we did in the previous video here, that how this formula is constructed. And this is very important because this is going to be a crucial part in our FIFO valuation. So please make sure that you watch this video first and then proceed with FIFO valuation part. Right. So uh, we have here two inputs, that is the amount due, right? Uh, Amongst the array that where we have to do the distribution, and this is the initial balance that we had, which was 6 million here again. So what we will do, we will create a lambda for this formula. So let's copy this because we are going to use it several times, right? So what we will do, we will copy this. Let's go to home tab. Let's go to Excel labs, and from this formulas, we will add another formula here. So let's give it a name, distribute, right? And let me maximize this. Let me expand this and we will paste that formula here. Now we will start writing a lambda. So lambda, and let's say the first parameter will be array. It will be an array of a certain amount. It could be amount, it could be units, or it could be anything. Basically we are just doing the distribution, so hence we have named it distribute. And then there will be some initial balance, so initial balance, right, comma. So let's say in place of amount due we could write here array, right? And we could remove this part basically because we don't need this now, because the names of the variables that we have used here and which we are taking as parameters here, they are exactly same. So we could remove this, and also we could remove let statement as well. And what we could do, instead of amount due, we could use that ARR variable here, right? And, and here as well, array. Right? So this is our lambda, and let's click on done, and let's save this. Let's close this window, and let's come here. Let's write equals to distribute, and we could see this lambda here, right? Distribute. This is our array of amount due, comma, initial balance is this cash balance. Let's press enter, and we have got this as a result. These are exactly same. 23100, 23100. So this is the kind of distribution that we are going to do. And why this is going to be useful in our FIFO valuation that we just did right now? Because in a way, what we are doing, we have a certain quantity here that we sold, let's say, and we are just trying to distribute in ascending order that quantity in ascending order such that uh, the earliest one gets the maximum, right? We satisfy the earlier one and then we move on. So this is a similar calculation that we are trying to do in FIFO valuation as well. There is nothing much different, just there are some more tweaks there. So we have created that lambda here, and this is going to be much more useful for us in FIFO valuation. So let's continue with our FIFO valuation here. Now, basically, we will try to see the macro view here, right? The complete picture here. And then we will move on to each of these parts here. So what we have done in that complete period starting from 27 January till 21st April, what we have done in total, we have made a purchase of 237 units, right? Which is the sum of this particular column values. And what we have done out of those 237 units, we have made a sales of 184 units. So again, this is a sum total of all these column values, right? So what we are trying to do, we are just trying to calculate the cost of goods sold for this complete 184 units, right? If we are trying to do this, then how we can visualize that? So from this 184 units, we would have purchased 21 units at a price of 33 each, 19 units at a price of 82 each, 18 units at a price of 34 each, right? So this is what we are doing, that we are making a purchase at different cost and then we are trying to find the final cost of goods sold. So let's see the distribution of these 184 quantities among the purchase quantities, right? So let's do that. Let's insert a column here, and we are going to use that distribute function here, right? This will be the array of purchase quantity, comma, this is going to be our initial balance, the total quantity that we sold. Let's press enter, and what we are doing, we are just distributing this 184 amongst these purchase quantities. So what we have done, what we have got from this 184, we could completely cover this particular purchase quantity. We could completely cover this 19 as well. We could completely cover this 18 as well on 11th February. Now when we reach here, let's say on 8th April, 20 quantities, so we could completely cover them. Now out of these 29 quantities that we purchased, we could only sell 13 quantities at a price of 68, right? And we could not make a sale of these quantities here, right? On which we purchased on 18th April, 20th April, and 21st April, right? So this is the distribution. And if we try to find the value, so what we have, again, each of these quantities multiplied by the respective purchase price. So we have got this as a result. And if we see the value, if we see the complete value of on 21st April, for this complete period starting from 27 January till 21st April, if we try to see that, so what is that? It is equal to sum of these values here. So this is the final value that we have got. This is the complete cost of goods sold, right? This is the total cost of goods sold for this period. Now, what we are again trying to do, that we are just trying to break this 10308 total cost of goods sold for each of these dates here, right? And we are trying to arrive at this cost of goods sold on for each of the sales of quantities that we did here, right? So this is our goal here. This is going to be our goal here. And let's see that how we can achieve that, right? So now let's say if we try to distribute, let's say this particular quantity among each of the purchase quantities here. So let's see what is the result that we will get. So let's say we use equals to distribute function again, and this is going to be our array, comma, let's say we are trying to distribute this quantity here, 7. So we have got this as a result that from this 21 again, this 21 could itself cover this 7 quantity. So we have got 7 here, and for rest of the values we have got 0 here, correct? And now what we are going to do, that we are going to multiply this 7 by this 33, and rest of them will be 0 because they have 0 quantity sold here. And that is exactly the same as the result that we manually arrived at here, 7 multiplied by 33. Now let's try to distribute the second value here. Let's say for this 8, right? The sales that we made on 5th of February. Let's try to see the result. So again, this 21 could completely cover this 8 here. So we are again getting the same result, that this 8 multiplied by 33 will give us the result, right? So again, that is also the same here. Now let's try to see the third case, and this is where the things will get interesting, because until now this 21 could cover both 7 and 8, but it is not sufficient to cover this 28 as well. So we will need the support from this second purchase that we made on 5th of February. So now let's try to distribute this 28 among these purchase quantities. So we are getting this as a result. But what we are doing, we are taking 21 quantities from the first one and 7 quantities from the second one. But this is wrong, right? This is wrong. Why this is wrong? Because we have already occupied this 21 quantity for the first two sales that we made, and then we are moving on to the second quantity for the remaining one. So this is how the distribution should look like, that 6 quantities from the first one, then 19 from the second one, and then 3 from the third one, right? So this should have been the distribution, but this is not giving us the correct result if we are directly using this sales quantity here. So what should we do? What could be a workaround for this? If we let's say try to cover this 7 and 8 as well, if we try to distribute this plus 8 plus 7, right? If we see the cumulative quantity and then try to distribute that, then we could actually get the correct distribution. So let's press enter and let's see the result. So what we are getting 21 here, 19 here, and 3 here, right? For the first three quantities. And if we see here, we are almost near. We wish to see 6 here, basically in place of 21. 19 is absolutely correct, and 3 is also correct, right? 3 is also correct. Just that what we will have to do, we will have, if we subtract, let's say, from this 21 the sum of these two, right? Sum of these two quantities here, then we would get the absolutely correct result, right? We would get the absolutely correct result. So let's do one thing, equals to, let's try to distribute um, this here among these quantities. So again, these parameters are opposite. So first of all, array will come and then the initial balance will come, right? And again, if we see here what we did, if we see here, when we did the valuation, we did on the cumulative quantities that we sold in the complete period, right? So again, we will have to deal with that thing, cumulative balance, because if we try to distribute this 28, right, individually, then we are not considering this 7 and 8, but these 7 and 8 as well have occupied certain quantities from the previous purchase that we made. So hence we are dealing with that cumulative quantity sold at each of the steps, right? And hence what we are doing, let's say at the first step we are doing a sales of 7 quantity, and this is the array that we have here, right? So we got this distribution. At the next instance, at the next iteration, what we are doing, we will distribute among these purchases that we made, not only only this particular quantity, not only 8 units, but 8 plus 7, right? So we will distribute them both here, and we got 15 here. And if we try to observe the pattern here, ideally here must have got 8 here in order to get the correct result. And if we see here, if we from this 15, if we subtract this 7, what we will get? We will get 8 here, right? And if we try to do the valuation as well, so let's say um, and multiply sign and let's say this purchase price. So if we see here, what we are getting 7 into 33, and let's say again we do the same thing here and this here. So what we are getting 15 into 33, right? So from this 15 into 33, if we subtract 7 into 33, what we will get? So equals to 15 into 33 minus 7 into 33. What we will get in return? What we will get in return? Basically, we will get this will become equal to 33. We will take 33 as common, so 33 will be taken as common. Then 15 minus 7, right? 53 minus 7, and then what it will be? It will be 8 8 into 33, right? This is the result that we will get. So this is the value that we are trying to achieve, right? So what we will do, first of all, we will not distribute each of these quantities sold at each of at each of these dates. Instead, what we will do, we will take a cumulative sum of all these quantities at each step, and then we will distribute that particular quantity, right? So if we see here as well, let's say, so let's try to replicate the same steps here as well. So let's copy this. Let's come here and let's paste this here. We have got 21 into 33. From this 21, so again, this 21 minus 15 will be 6. And we have got 6 here, right? So we could see the pattern here. 19 minus 0 is 19. 3 minus 0 is again 3. And let's say we try to do that for the fourth sales that we made as well. So let's copy this and let's paste this here and let's try to see that. So what we will do, we will just add this fourth sales that we made as well. So we have got this distribution here. So yes, we have got this distribution here, and see the magic here. If we see these two here, right, 21 minus 21 is 0. And this is exactly what we have because we have remaining units at 0 here. So here it will be, we are taking 0 units from the first purchase that we made, right? Again, this will be 0. 19 minus 19 is 0 because we are not taking, this is completely occupied at this step only, right? So we are not taking anything from that. If we see the third step, 15 minus 3 is 12. And this is what we wanted. 12 into 34. 12 into 34. So this is how we will get our result, right? This is how we will arrive at the cost of goods sold for each of the quantities sold here. Correct? So first, as our first step, we will not be dealing with each of these individual quantities sold here. So let's make a copy of this. Let's remove all the other workings and let's start fresh, right? So I will remove these workings from here and I will remove this as well. I will remove this as well. And let's keep them for reference, right? Let's keep them for reference. And first step will be that we will find cumulative quantities sold at each of these dates. So equals to, for that we will use scan function. So scan, our initial value will be 0, comma, array will be this array, comma, lambda, x, comma, y, comma, x plus y. The previous result plus the current value, comma, x plus y, right? So we have got the cumulative sum for this quantity sold at each of these dates here using scan function. Now what we will do, again, we will use the same thing. So at first step, what we did at first iteration, we distributed the 7 among these purchase quantities. At the next step, we distributed 7 plus 8 among these purchase quantities. Then we multiply it by purchase price, right? And then what we will do, we will basically find the difference of these two in order to get the result for 5th of February, cost of goods sold on 5th of February. Then again, what we will do, we will, at the third iteration, we will we have already added them together. So 7 plus 8 plus 28 becomes 43 here. And this is the same result that we have here. So what we will do, we will distribute 43 among these purchase quantities, then multiply the result by purchase price, then we will just subtract the value that we arrived at the previous step. So basically what we are trying to do, let's say we have valued 43 quantities here, right? We have valued 43 quantities here. From this 43 quantities, we are just subtracting the value of 15 quantities in order to get the value of these 28 quantities here, right? So 43, value of 43, we will arrive at the value of 43 quantities minus the value of these 15 quantities here. So we will get 28 here. So we are just trying to find the value of these 28 quantities that we sold on 11th of February here. So that will be our final goal. But our first goal will be to arrive at this particular result that we are trying to achieve here. So for that, what we are going to do, we are just going to use distribute function. So let's use it here. Let's use it for 55, let's say, right? So equals to distribute among these quantities, initial balance is, let's say, 55 quantities. So let's press enter. We have got this as our result. Let's multiply this by purchase price, right? We have got this as our result. And then what we will do, we will simply add them. So we will use some function for that. And we have got 2761 as the total value of these 55 quantities here. Let's try to do the same steps for 43 as well, right? These 43 values, 43 quantities here. So we have got this. And if we then try to find the value of these 12 quantities here, so that will be equals to this minus the previous result. That will be 408. And if we see the result here, when we multiply 12 by 34, so equals to 12 multiplied by 34, we are again getting the same result, that is 408 here, right? So this is what we are trying to achieve. This is what we are trying to achieve. That is finding the value of each of these individual quantities by first finding the value of cumulative quantities and then subtracting the consecutive results that we have generated. Right. So let's see how we can do this. Now we have understood this. So the rest of the steps would be easy. First step was to find the cumulative quantities at each of these dates here. Then we are just trying to apply this distribute function. So we have applied distribution function for this value, distribute function for this value, and we have to do that for each of the values here. And when we are trying to do this for each of the values here in this array, which function can we use? We can use map function for that, because map function just iterates through each of the values here, right? So what we will do, we will basically use the same function here and use map function here. So map, this will be the array, complete array, comma, lambda, and let's call each of the values in this array by c, right? And instead of this h7, this reference, we will use that c variable here, and we will close the brackets here, right? So we have got our results, and we will move our results here, right? So we have got this as a result here. That value of 15 quantities is 495. Now this 15 again consists of value of 7 quantities as well. So we will just subtract from this 495 the value of the 7 quantities, so that we get the value of 8 quantities only. So what we have to do, from this 495 we wish to subtract 231, from this 2353 we wish to subtract 495, from this 2761 we wish to subtract the value of the previous value, right? So what we are trying to achieve, from this 231 we will subtract nothing, so we are trying to get 0 here, correct? We are trying to get 0 here, because 231 minus 0 will be 231. From this 495 we are trying to subtract 231, so we want 231 here, so that we could get 495 minus 231. Again here we wish to subtract 495, so here what we are trying to get, this minus this, correct? So in order to get an array like this, such that against each of the values we have the previous value that we have in this array. So how we can do this? What we could do, first of all, we will drop the last value from this array. So let's drop the last value, because why we are dropping the last value, let's see that as well. When we reach here, we are just trying to subtract from this 9, 6, 2, 8, right? That is the previous value for this value, right? So there is no use of this value ahead, right? In constructing this array. So that's why we are dropping the last value from this array in cell I5, right? So what we will do, we will use drop function from this array, drop the last value, and for dropping the last value we will use -1. Let's close the bracket, let's press enter, and we have got this as a result. Now the size of both these arrays is uneven, right? This is uneven, and we want a 0 at the start. So what we will do, we will v stack a 0 at the start, and let's close the bracket. And we have got the desired result, that from this 231 we will subtract 0, from 495 we will subtract 231, and so on. And from this 10308 we are going to subtract 9628. And again, 10308, remember, this was the final value, total value of the complete valuation of these 184 quantities. And this is what we have got here. So this is the total value, but we want the valuation of only these 10 quantities. Hence what we are doing, from this value of 184 quantities, we are subtracting the value of previous value of 174 quantities to get only the value of these 10 quantities here. So now let's remove these workings here. We don't need them. And let's move our result here. And finally, how we will get the result? So let's write that here, equals to this minus this, right? So we are doing pairwise lifting here, that each of the values in this array will be subtracted. We are trying to apply this subtraction operator here. So each of the values in this array will be subtracted from the respective values in this array. So let's press enter, and we have got the final result here, right? This is the final valuation here for each of the values here, for each of the quantities sold here individually. And if we try to see the total value, total cumulative value, so sum of all the cost of goods sold here, if we see that, it again comes to 10308, right? So this is the total value of total cost of goods sold for this period, right? So let me highlight this as well separately. So these were the several steps that we did here, and let's make another copy of this one. So let me make another copy, and this will be our final calculation, and we will wrap all the calculations into a single cell. So basically what we are doing, we are just subtracting these two arrays. So we will copy the formulas in both these arrays. So let's copy this. Let's come here, and in place of I5 hash, we will place that formula. Let's press enter, and we will copy this as well. So we copy this, and we will come here and we will paste that here, right? Now we could see a pattern here, that this I5 hash is again that map function part, right? This is again the same part that we have copied earlier as well, this same part. So what we will do, we will create a let statement, and let a be this complete map part, right? And what we could do, comma, a minus this v stack, and in place of this we could use that a variable again. And let's close the bracket here, let's press enter. So we have got the result here. And now what is the reference that is still pending? It is h5 hash. So let's see that what is there inside h5 hash. So let's copy that, let's come here, and let's place that here, right? Now we are down to cell references that are user input. So purchase quantity is user input, purchase price is going to be user input, and sales quantity is also going to be user input. So this is the final formula that we have arrived at, and this is what we have. So we could remove all the workings from here, and this is the total value that we have. So let's remove these extra columns as well, and this is the total value that we have. Let's say we made a sales of 57 units here. So this is the updated value that we have here, right? This is the updated value. And again, this is the total. And if we see here as well, let's say in place of 27, let's make it 57. We will again get the same result here, 12236 and 12236. So let's quickly recap all the steps that we did. So first of all, we saw that this distribute lambda here. Again, please see this video to understand this lambda. We have already done a step-by-step calculation in this video, so do check out this video. So we had a look at this distribute lambda and created its lambda using this function, right? This formula. So this was the formula that we wrote. And then what we did, we tried to see that, okay, we cannot use that distribute lambda on individual quantities here because they are not considering the earlier distribution that we have already done. So that's why what we did, we found out the cumulative quantities here at each of the steps here, right? So cumulative quantities at each of the steps. And then what we did, basically, we tried to find the value of the cumulative quantities at each of the steps. And then to arrive at the quantity value of each of the cost of goods sold of each of the individual quantities that we sold, we just made the subtraction of the cumulative quantity at, let's say, this step minus the cumulative value of cumulative quantity at the previous step to get the value of the um, quantity sold at each of the dates here, right? So that we did using drop and that logic, drop and v stack logic, and we got at a result here like this. And then finally what we did, basically we tried to wrap all the things, all the working inside a single formula. So that is it for this video, and I hope you like this video, you like the concept here that we discussed, and you will apply this same thing at your work as well. So that is it from my side. So do drop your feedback and any alternative solution if you have. I would love to see that. So that's it for this video, and I hope to see you in more such videos in future. And also drop the suggestions for upcoming videos. So that would be helpful for me as well. So thank you so much, and let's meet again in future upcoming videos. Thank you.